Buddy, let's play a game.
A boozing game?
No, something better. What I've got here are two pieces of paper. One says Jimmy the King and one says Robbermeister. Now, we both draw a piece, look at it, but don't tell the other one what it says.
Okay.
Now, if you're the Robbermeister, you lose the game and get 5 lashes with this rod.
Damn, I am the Robbermeister.
Well, that's a pity. You lose. It's great to be the king. Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage.
And I'm Deniz, the Buddymeister.
And today's pick was once again directly picked for us by one of our Masala Meister tier supporters. Binoy Mohammed chose the 2015 Malayalam language drama OZHIVUDIVASATHE KALI.
OZHIVUDIVASATHE KALI, which can be translated to An Off-Day Game, was directed by Sanal Kumar. It's based on a short story by P. Jayachandran, better known as Nair, who's no stranger to us. He co-wrote 2015's Charlie, which we reviewed, and he wrote the screenplay for Munari Yipu, which you reviewed. The story of OZHIVUDIVASATHE KALI follows 5 men who get together for a booze party during an election holiday in Kerala.
This is a movie that I would normally describe to friends as a typical festival film. Something that would be shown at the Vienna International Film Festival, for example. A movie that has a certain style, that's definitely challenging and not an easy watch. Of course, those things are always expressed on a spectrum and it's seldom just one or the other, not just pure entertainment or art house difficulty.
Yeah, but I can totally see where you're coming from. It's a very artful and elaborate movie. It didn't have a full-fledged screenplay, for example, and it only consists of 70 shots, with the whole second half being only one single 53-minute-long shot.
To be completely honest, movies like OZHIVUDIVASATHE KALI are not something I really gravitate towards. The extreme importance of its message and a very non-conventional way of storytelling is more often than not irritating and not really rewarding for me. The almost complete lack of close-ups, the refusal to use any kind of music, the very loose type of conversations and the super long takes that for me always draw a bit too much attention to themselves.
Movies that tend to do that sometimes fall prey to appear, let's call it self-regarding, sometimes even narcissistic, a little bit too artsy for their own sake. And that's what I initially thought about this movie too, but with time I more and more got sucked into the atmosphere and I wasn't really paying that much attention to the art anymore. I was genuinely interested in how things will turn out and I was tense and anxious.
My appreciation for the movie also grew and grew as it was unfolding, and at the end, though the outcome was quite predictable, at least for me, I was really happy that I have seen it. It is challenging, but it left an impression. And you know, in a way it reminded me of Ray's Days and Nights in the Forest. Some friends setting out to leave their known civilization behind them and get to a place that somehow has its own set of rules.
OZHIVUDIVASATHE KALI feels very real and realistic. It's almost like a documentary. We, the audience, are mere observers.
Like a fly on the wall.
Exactly. We are completely surrounded by this environment, this beautiful environment. We're not only treated with wonderful images of the sky, the forest, the water, everything. We're also encompassed by the sounds of nature, the chirping of crickets, thunder, falling rain and the likes. This place comes alive in a way.
There are definitely beautiful images to be found in there, but overall I thought it was actually quite bleak, and probably intentionally so. Maybe a dark foreboding that this won't be a nice trip by some friends who really do care for each other. It nonetheless has an immersive effect to it, even though I couldn't help but pay very close attention to the form itself, with all those super long shots, how it was shot, if there are any hidden cuts and stuff like that, which can be distracting. The way it unfolds here was interesting though. At one point it even reminded me a little bit of Sam Raimi's The Evil Dead, because the camera itself almost feels like an entity. It's following the characters, but sometimes not really that closely.
It lets them go and follows them from a safe distance.
Yes, it also pushes open a door at one point. For me, this kind of evoked a feeling as if there's really a presence there. Maybe some ancient force that feeds on or amplifies these men's prejudices and sins. Or maybe it's the burden of the past that's still invading the lives of the people today, that's still tormenting them with stuff like caste and sexism.
It's a fascinating constellation. A clash of many different things is happening here. It's election day, so political themes and opinions are bubbling under the surface. They are drinking like hell. They are in nature and far away from civilization. There's the woman, Gita, who's at the man's mercy in a way. So the sword of Damocles is hanging above their heads all the time, and you know that it's not going to end well. And it's not like they don't have good fun. It still starts out as this chillaxing day, an adventure for these men who have to blow off some steam.
Yeah, that's the aspect I perceived a little bit differently, I think. Like I said, it had a rather bleak atmosphere from the get-go for me. With the way this movie is told, it's rather hard to immediately get a good feeling, a good understanding for each character, but I really didn't feel much warmth there, and I was very suspicious of all of them. And as you said, things are always on the brink of bursting. And they do burst. First, Vinayan and Damanan tangle with one another over the themes of women and money. Then things get smoother again and we are in all-out bro-love territory, though I still didn't trust it for a second, to be honest. And then things are bursting again as we approach the final climax.
And there is no turning back then. I guess this might be a good time to give you a spoiler warning. I guess I saw what these men went through more as an emotional roller coaster than you did. And through this I was able to somehow get acquainted with them. It's not like we're really getting to know them, but we were able to gather some bits and pieces about them through the things they say and the things they do. And that's what makes this movie so damn interesting and gripping. And of course we get some really impressive performances by all these actors, especially since that second half was done in one shot and the dialogue mostly ad-libbed.
Definitely. And I'm completely with you that we certainly learn a few important things about these men. Women are just toys for them. Vinayan seems like a guy who might understand a tiny bit about feminism and equality, but the way he talks about it still sounds boastful, like he recites something that he memorized. And Narayanan doesn't care about it anyway. He says it's all about how you conquer women.
Yes, and it's somehow disgusting how a few of the men, but mainly Dharmanan, try to woo Gita. You look at that and just think, God, can't you just sit still, drink with your buddies and stop being a pig?
Absolutely. And as you said, the election lingers on in the background. So another thing that we learn through details, through those bits and pieces, is their political standpoint. Caste is a theme that pops up more than once and of course becomes crucial in the last third of the movie. Because even if they are arguing with each other, in the end they are still allies when they can ridicule and go after their weakest link, meaning the person with the darkest skin color.
I think the way they play the game and how it plays out leaves a lot of room for interpretation. First of all, I think it's pretty amazing how things are built up to the game and to those last minutes. You're expecting something to happen the whole time, but at least I didn't know what it was going to be.
Of course, I didn't know exactly what would happen, but it wasn't a huge surprise either.
Yeah, well, I think it's not about being a surprise or a twist ending. In my mind, it works so well because you know that something's going to happen, but you don't know when and you don't know how. And as I said, it leaves room for interpretation. For example, you could say that Dasan did not become the robber by accident.
That might actually be possible, seeing that no one besides Tiromeni knows what's written on the pieces of paper and sees what's written when the others show him their slip.
And as we're mentioned, these four guys lose no opportunity to somehow show Dasan who has the greatest say in things. They're quickly in agreement on who should climb and get the jackfruit, and they're equally quick in agreement when it comes to who should kill the chicken.
That's a good point. But let's assume they didn't rig the game and Dasan became the robber by chance. It would fit the movie if some kind of entity, some kind of supernatural power steered things to go that way, to show that society is just like that the caste system works just like that, and we see it through this microcosm, which makes this kind of a horror movie as well. I mean, as we said, you could say that this movie every so often implies that some kind of otherworldly force has a hand in this. Or maybe it's also a way to refer to the fact that it's completely up to chance where someone is born, which country, in which culture, and so on. But that aside, there's of course also the very apparent issue of corruption addressed and how people with power can easily get away unpunished while the unprivileged are used as scapegoats.
It's an intriguing ending, an intriguing movie, and it actually has grown on me since I watched it.
Nice. In my mind, it's a bit too long and meandering too much, and it would probably work better for me if I actually understood the language. But regardless of that, it's a really fascinating movie.
So what would we say in German about OZHIVUDIVASATHE KALI?
OZHIVUDIVASATHE KALI ist ein kunstvoller und herausfordernder Film, getragen von einer poetischen, fast übernatürlichen Atmosphäre und den beeindruckenden Leistungen der Schauspieler, erzählt er eine faszinierende und fesselnde Geschichte, die Fragen aufwirft und zum Denken anregt. I give OZHIVUDIVASATHE KALI 7 out of 10. It's more like 6.8, but I don't do that.
For me, it's 8 out of 10. It's more like 7.7, but I don't do that either. Did you know that the jackfruit can reach as much as 50 kilograms in weight, 100 centimeters in length and 50 centimeters in diameter, and thus is the largest fruit in the world that grows on a tree?
You are such a fruitcake. So, what are your thoughts about OZHIVUDIVASATHE KALI? Leave a comment and hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd and also on Patreon, simply at the Jimmy Cage.
And you can hit me up on Twitter at the Buddymeister.
You can also become a member of the channel and get exclusive rewards. And if you enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like. And make sure you hit that bell for all we have to tell.